Eva Jessye, who graduated from Western in 1914, was the first African-American woman to gain international distinction as a choral director. She conducted the choirs for the original production of Porgy and Bess in 1935, a transformative event on Broadway featuring for the first time an all-black cast of classically trained singers. The play is considered the first great American opera, and its iconic songs such as Summertime, I Got Plenty of Nuttin', and It Ain't Necessarily So are theater classics. George Gershwin's genius brought the play to Broadway, but its long-term success rests on the shoulders of its gifted choral conductor, Eva Jessye, the only African-American on the production team, and responsible for shaping the vocal arrangements of the songs and working with the singers to give the play its authenticity. For a white audience accustomed to the demeaning caricatures of blackface minstrelsy, the opera was a revelation.
Yeah, George Gershwin, he needed some kind of authenticity. But this was a Broadway thing, you know, it's going to be a Broadway show, there's going to be those disciplines that go with that, but he also needed a choir director who knew both worlds. One thing about listening to the way, you know, a black person sings in an African-American church down south or in Kansas City, but it's another thing to know that, oh, they're using staccato here, they're using glissando here. And George Gershwin needed somebody who knew the sound, and he also needed somebody who knew that language. And she could interpret that in a language that the choristers understood.
Jessie's passion for music was shaped during her youth in Kansas. She was born in Coffeyville in southeast Kansas in 1895. Her grandparents had been slaves, and her neighbors either descended from slaves or came to Kansas as Exodusters. When she went as far as blacks were allowed in her schooling in Coffeyville, she enrolled at Western. She excelled there, becoming an assistant to music dean Robert G. Jackson and singing with the Jackson Jubilee Singers. In 1927, Jessye published My Spirituals, an anthology of spiritual arrangements accompanied by stories of friends and family. In the book's preface, she writes that the spirituals she learned in southeast Kansas held a singular meaning for people who had escaped oppression in the slave states just across the border. Her reputation grew when her choral group became a fixture on the major Bose Capital Family Radio Hour.
I think what made Eva Jesse's music and her choirs so in demand is that she could teach people, educated people who could read music, how to sing in dialect. There's a certain rhythm to the way black people talk.